Hey everyone, Zach Smith here.
Amy Williams.
And now we're talking about the specifics of how we thought of and incorporated adult variability in our
Yes.
UDL rollout. So,
Which can sometimes be more challenging than
the adults can be tough. So, no doubt about that. The first thing that we thought of in how we roll this out is to really think about the adult's story of where our teachers and our administrators were at when UDL was going to be rolled out. Common Core had just hit us full force. Tech rollout was happening. The old way of teaching was now kind of being phased out, or not necessarily phased out, but things were changing. It was evolving.
It was evolving to meet the new Common Core standards.
And so we knew that if we just cram something down the teacher's throat, we would have the teachers reject it. And we really believe that UDL is something that can stand on its own, and that once the teachers bought into it and saw what it was, they would love it. And so in our initial phase, we definitely elected to start small. So we're talking a pilot of, 8 PLCs, and all volunteers.
Yes.
So we said, hey, there's this thing called Universal Design for Learning. It's really neat. Who's interested? And we just took whoever came to us, right? Like, give us whoever. And they came, and they were incredible. But really, we wanted it to be something that was small and thoughtful and controlled, but also where the information was given to everyone. So everyone knew that the option was there should they want it, but it really was a matter if they wanted it, if they wanted to volunteer. And we knew also that if we taught UDL without using UDL, or by not thinking of that engagement piece, we really wouldn't be modeling the initiative in the first place, which really made us pause and think about how we do it.
And part of starting small really allowed us as a rollout team to be aware and cognizant of some of the pitfalls or challenges that would come up for teachers as they begin to use Universal Design for Learning. And we wanted to be thoughtful and know what those pitfalls or challenges were before we ran it out to our entire staff, because we really wanted to break down those barriers ahead of time so that as we moved forward, it was more accessible. We could break away those barriers sooner, and teachers wouldn't have to go through the same pitfalls as the pilots.
Yeah, it really
may have
had. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'm sure Amy feels the same way, but it was really a training ground for us as well, where we learned a lot as facilitators of this concept of and now I feel much more confident when I go into a new situation, just as a helper or one of the leaders on it. So
another way of incorporating the needs of our adult learners, which Zach and our other team members have been in our district-wide professional development meetings and opportunities, they have been very intentional and thoughtful about giving the adult learners the space and experience of Universal Design for Learning. Because as we know, when we learn something and how we learn it and we get ahas, we say, hey, this might work for my kiddos back in my classroom. So that team has been very intentional about how Universal Design not only speaks to all kids, but how it's integrated into all of our initiatives, and presenting it to all of the teachers this year really helped to demystify the ideas around universal design. Because as Zach mentioned, we started with some pilot teams and had a lot of success. And through their championing universal design, we had an outpouring for the next years of pilots to the point.
More than doubled. I think.
Yeah, where we had to be thoughtful and we couldn't necessarily take every pilot. But what's great is that teachers, non-pilot PLCs, are playing with Universal Design for Learning. So, again, that opportunity to demystify it, show how it works in their professional development, give them the feeling of universal design as learners, has really helped in our implementing.
Yeah.
implementation.
Another thing is when we do actually teach UDL, whether it's in a PD session for all teachers, but we're saying this is just for your information, or when it's in a specific pilot team and we're saying this is where we're headed for the year, we model UDL. So when Amy and I really put a lot of challenge on ourselves to think outside the box when it comes to our curricular design and how we put together UDL. So we're using things like Prezi, we're using Google Slides. We even connected it to a video game and had a UDL kind of video game representation. We use things like Nearpod. We've done a lot of just collaborative grouping and collaborative timing. And so really getting that experience of, hey, this feels different. We're really intentional every time we do a training to find a space that's dynamic because of that whole idea of context. We try to get the teachers, because we had the luxury and we started small, we could do this. We tried to get the teachers out of their context. And so we went to our local university, Fresno State, and they have a tech room that's super fun and dynamic. So we're like, why not teach UDL there? So we have like 6 screens going at once and they're all touch screen and all the chairs move and the tables move. And the teams just loved it. And then another time we went to a place called Bitwise down in downtown Fresno. And just to really think of Google, but in Fresno, really kind of cutting edge. Everybody's sitting on bouncy chairs. There's floaty cloud ceiling lights and, every wall is a whiteboard. And so really getting them to just feel something different has been a really helpful thing and made it safe for teams. We even talked about that today with a team where they're like, I want my classroom to feel like the trainings felt.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, on providing the space for adult learners, one of the big ahas taking them into kind of this universally designed atmosphere is they realized how much of the space, the physical space in the room, is used for engagement and learning opportunities. It's not a stagnant space that some of our historical classrooms kind of use it as, like a wall to post stuff up, but actually a wall for interactive learning. And I think that was another one of those ahas that one of our site leaders gained from being in a different context that was more universally designed. Great opportunity. So much so that our assistant superintendent wants us to address our school board room.
Yeah, to redesign the school board room. And we're like, okay, we don't really have any sort of training there. So we'll learn about it and dive in. But.
So Zach and I will be creating a universally designed training room, board room in the upcoming months.
Yep.
The other piece that we did as a way to get a feel for the impact of what we're doing and having that qualitative and quantitative data to say, yes, universal design feels good. And yes, we're seeing these amazing things occurring in our classroom. But in addition to that, we have the data to support that we are seeing reduction in behavior. We are seeing a reduction in visits to the nurse. We are seeing an increase in attendance. So all of these kind of key indicators that allow us to say, oh, our pilot classrooms that are experiencing and playing with universal design are actually showing up more healthy in our data. So that's also been a way for us to look at the impact for universal design, and then also to be aware of the level of supports that those kiddos are needing through our MTSS design. So again, we've created a data dashboard that has allowed us to look at that and analyze that data as well. Is that something to add?
Yeah, we part of this pilot process has also been piloting that. What data can we collect that will accurately show the environment or show the impact of UDL? And so for us, it has been a road of trying to data mine, trying to create a system that when we do go to scale is able to look at it from like the case study qualitative space, like the stories that we shared in another YouTube video, but also a quantitative space where, like you said, we do see the numbers and the impact of UDL there. And so that's been a process that we've been able to narrow down, and I think we're getting to the point where we feel really good about it and can start showing those data.
Yeah. So again, it's been very exciting, and we are definitely learning a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on to another question in another video, but hang in there and follow along.